Hello and welcome to the Cinebums, the podcast about staying in, canceling your plans, watching movies. In this case, watching two movies about the exact same story, and both American movies, one by Hollywood and one by a smaller Hollywood, a TV movie. I am Luke. As usual, I'm with the great John Nurin, hailing out of Denver, Colorado. And today we have a guest, a good friend of mine, Felix Kristensson. I appreciate you coming on. He hails from the Bay, which is where these movies hail from. And for all our video listeners, you get to enjoy some of that swag that Felix just put on his intro.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, that was our best intro by far, altogether.
Yeah, we've never had so much confidence
Oh, hell yeah.
intro, you know?
Hell yeah. Well, we're talking about Steve Jobs, you know? So we gotta have some energy out here.
Like Antonio, man, he just stared at us as we introduced him.
Damn, Antonio, dude. Like, fucking slacking, bro.
But didn't you, say your first experience listening to this podcast wasn't it our Inherent Vice episode with Antonio? Isn't that what you told me?
Yeah, I listened to that one, yeah.
Right.
I didn't really know who you guys were, I think, at that point.
Yeah, you were just like, this is the podcast that Antonio is on.
Yeah, I saw him post about it on his story.
Yeah.
And that's how I got linked to it. And then I think I met you when we went to my cousin's barbecue.
Yeah. And you're like, he's the guy from the podcast.
Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, continue the intro.
All right. But yeah, that's cool. I mean, Inherent Vice is definitely that was a big episode, and the Revisited series is a big one for us. Mm-hmm. And definitely these movies, I wanted to talk about one of these movies for a little bit, but it was last year when I saw Jobs with Ashton Kutcher that I was like, all right, this comparison episode would be a perfect thing, and a perfect thing to have you on for, considering we watched both of them together within a month's time or something like that.
Yeah, Inherent Vice is my second favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie.
I could see that. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that's a fun one to revisit because the plot of Inherent Vice is unfollowable, and so we had to try to recollect it of an almost impossible, unrecollectable plot. Pretty much. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and John, this is your first time seeing Steve Jobs, which I'm excited for, because I'm pretty sure one time when we were talking about maybe The Social Network, I was like, you have to see Steve Jobs too. It's also very good, and then I had a lot of things to say about it.
Yeah, I remember you recommending Steve Jobs to me a long time ago, and I just forgot about it, really. And I think, we'll talk about Steve Jobs himself a little bit more, and I think kind of how he's viewed now is part of the reason. But yeah, anyway, I was excited to see Steve Jobs because obviously we're big fans of The Social Network, that Sorkin screenplay, and so I figured this would be similar.
Is sort of a sequel to that, in a way, mm-hmm. Since we are at the beginning of The Social Network episode, we talk about Facebook's actually still really relevant today, we had a lot of real insight there, Facebook had a huge impact, huh?
Yeah, but the unofficial second movie in the trilogy is Moneyball, though.
Right. Yeah, really? So Moneyball's second in the years that they were made? I thought it came first.
Social Network came out in 2010, and then Moneyball came out in 2011.
Wow. Okay, all right, yeah.
Directed, written by Aaron Sorkin and directed by Bennett Miller, who also made Foxcatcher and shit.
Oh wow, yeah, that's the other thing he did. Yeah, I mean, I love Moneyball a lot too. And yeah, that's
Moneyball's
one
really
thing.
good.
Yeah,
Moneyball's I would rank them like Social Network one, then Moneyball, and then Steve Jobs in that order, I would say.
yeah,
Like in my
Yeah,
personal
yeah.
I would
opinion.
say that too, but I would put Social Network a lot higher than both of them.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
For sure. Like I think, yeah, Social Network is like pretty much a perfect film almost. Even though it's like
Right.
kind of goofy, you know, because Luke and I just rewatched it and I didn't realize how like
How silly it is.
yeah, how silly it actually is now watching it like as a 26-year-old compared to like watching it as like I think I was like 14 when I saw it the first time.
Cut off the,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
Facebook.
Facebook.
No, I yeah. But like Moneyball is like almost perfect except for like the singing girl shit that's like goes on in it. It's kind of corny, but
Yeah, I mean that's you personally, but I think that like nails the
yeah.
I think that like yeah, that kind of nails the ending. But actually I'd say a year ago I would have said I like Steve Jobs more than Moneyball because I was into the more flexing heavy like throwing like dialogue that is in Steve Jobs, but it's definitely after rewatching Steve Jobs just now and rewatching Moneyball within the last month, I definitely like Moneyball more. I think it's a much more balanced movie,
Yeah.
and just has a down to earth quality that Steve Jobs really doesn't. And Moneyball, I get it. I'm not even into baseball, but Moneyball, I get very into all the time. And I remember like the names of the players.
Yeah, Jason
And shit.
Giambi.
Yeah, exactly. Jeremy, yeah, he's like, you can't trade Jeremy Giambi. He's like, you lost Damon Giambi. Like all this, like I remember, I'm like, how are they gonna do it after they lost Damon and Giambi?
Giambi.
No, those are all names that are like familiar in my childhood because I grew up in the Bay and I'm a Giants fan and I went to a lot of A's games as well. So I was
Yeah,
familiar with um what's his name? Billy Bean and
yeah,
like
Billy Bean. So you grew up with Billy Bean in
well, I didn't
your
grow up with
city,
Billy Bean like in particular, but he was always there. Like I didn't
right?
know him or anything,
Well,
but
yeah, I'm not saying that.
what's his name? Brian Sabian, the general manager of the Giants.
Okay,
You know when he's like, "Hey, Sabi Sapester, let's," and he's on the
right,
call,
right.
and
When he's on the call, oh
yeah,
wow,
he's talking to the Giants, and he's like, "How are you
okay.
gonna fuck me over like with this?" And
That's
yeah,
cool. Yeah, I think that's the only thing that could make that movie better for me is if I actually had grown up with the front office and it was like I knew it was in my hometown.
yeah.
That is pretty cool.
Mm.
I mean, so I guess since we're on the subject of like you being from the Bay, and John, you lived in the Bay for a little bit. I guess we
Yeah.
can talk about like this trilogy as just a Bay Area Sorkin trilogy, and
Mhm.
I guess I don't know, like it's like such its own unique thing, and I think it's kind of there's something about the Bay that feels like it's this like new wave, like more hippie, more forward thinking, like symbol of American ambition or something like that. And I feel like that's like a big representation in all these movies, and maybe like why they all tend to take place here, and maybe why Sorkin also has three of his best works like about the Bay Area as well.
Yeah, like I don't know what's with the Bay. I mean,
That's what
I
I
think it's just
mean. Yeah,
the tech. It's definitely like the tech culture, the tech bros and shit out there. Like that's so
right,
prevalent.
right.
And but I feel like I was never around that. Like growing up, I feel like I was never around like
Yeah,
tech shit.
right.
Like I was around like Moneyball shit. I was around the sports and but when
So
it
that
comes
so
to
that so
actual
that wasn't actually how it was like for you personally.
no, it was never tech stuff. Like I
Mm,
feel like it was just nor I don't know. I never knew about the tech stuff until later on, probably when I saw well, we all had a Facebook. Yeah, you guys already talked about this in the podcast, but we all had like Facebooks in what, like 2009, 2008, like 2010.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, but we didn't know. I never knew that that was in Palo Alto or anywhere near.
Oh, that it was being made right by or something like that.
Yeah, I never.
You didn't
I
know
never
who
knew
Sean Parker was?
that. I never knew who Sean Parker was. I never knew. Oh, we got the timer, boys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sets
I'll
in.
say just from like living in Cupertino after like the huge tech boom and everything, like
Mhm.
the weird thing is that everybody around you either works for one of the big tech companies or works for some like up and coming like startup that
Right.
is about to be acquired by these big tech companies. So it's like almost being in a small town where 90% of the citizens all work at like the same factory, like at Hormel or something. And
Yeah.
it's, but that's like the whole Bay Area. Yeah. It's just, there's so much just like energy put into all these tech companies and having to have like this new vision of the future that you're going to bring. And then, yeah, it's just, yeah, it's a very interesting, just a really interesting place. Yeah. That's just been so prevalent in so many things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the South Bay definitely has that vibe more than the North Bay. I
Totally.
think
Yeah.
Okay.
that's because I grew up in Sonoma, which is like, and then I grew up partially in SF because my dad was living there, but like SF, like proper, like the actual city. And then, but my grandfather like moved to Palo Alto. I don't know when it was, like 60s, 70s, and he was one of the first people. He was in like the first team to invent like the LED lights for
Wow.
computers and stuff. And he like
Cool.
got like a master's at Stanford and stuff. So he was actually a part of like the first, I don't know, wave or whatever of the computer.
Yeah, I mean, John, would you say like, like where all these I forget what they're called, the product launches, like where they all take place in Steve Jobs, for instance, were you say maybe living by one of those like types of places? Because that's the vibe I get.
Yeah. Well, so one place I think they filmed parts of Steve Jobs is like the De Anza Flint Center, something like that,
Okay.
which is in Cupertino, and that's literally
Right.
that's like 2-minute drive from where we used to live.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, we're and then like the spaceship, the big Apple headquarters was also like just down the road, like 5 minutes. So yeah, we're surrounded by all that. But I was even just talking to my wife about this last night, that it's just so weird. I didn't even really take into account any of that until I watched Steve Jobs. It was like, oh wow, yeah. So like they introduced the
significance of it.
iPod next door or something, something like that. It's
Right.
I didn't take into account like the significance
They
of
never stop innovating over there.
yeah. This is where they never stop innovating. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, but definitely
yeah.
these films have this sort of mythological
Yeah.
like vibe to them, because I don't think anyone was saying that shit like about it. I don't know. Like I never heard anyone talk about like any of that, like anything that was going on like in that way. There's definitely like a mythology or sort of it's brought up more. It's more sensationalized than it actually was. I think
Yeah.
John, yeah, you probably can like say the same thing about living in Cupertino or being in Palo Alto or something, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Also,
I've been to like the De Anza campus before and stuff too. And it looks like a community college campus. Like that's, it didn't like jump out to me, but this is like some people, I've worked with some people who are like huge Apple like fanboys that
oh
watch
God.
every press conference and everything, who they would be
see
like,
that,
oh,
and
you were
that's
right by the,
right.
Oh man. But they're like not, are they in the Bay or are they like
no,
in
no,
Colorado?
no.
They're not
These
even
are
in, yeah.
these are Midwesterners, yeah, who like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
who
that's
kind of
something I think
romanticize
about
that.
too.
Yeah.
Like there's that world of like, in like Steve Jobs specifically, because it's all product launch. You're like, oh my God, this is like the most hype like event right now.
Yeah.
And
The
I'm like,
crowds.
but
Yeah.
like that, not for me, but like for these people. So I'm like thinking, what crowd of people is it that for them this is like, seeing a Radiohead concert or something. Like they're doing like a wave and stuff. And I think that's like the most cinematic thing to me, and like specifically Steve Jobs, is when they cut away to the crowd where it's like
God, yeah.
it's all
So
the fanboys who hang on like what is he gonna reveal? He's a genius, like that sort of thing. And I probably a part of the Bay is like that culture, which I am just not a part of. Like here in
Yeah,
California, we're more film. That's more about films and like like art and stuff like that, and not about like tech.
yeah, dude. It's like going to Playboy Cardi show. That's how lit it would be for the kids, for the
Right.
yeah. Yeah. Even though it's like not even a performance. I guess it's kind of Steve Jobs' presentations were a sort of a performance.
They were a little like he
Yeah.
had in a very business marketing way. Like I remember
Mm-hmm.
after being really into just Steve Jobs like last year.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I watched this film and I read the book and stuff like that. And so then I watched a whole presentation of the first ever iPhone. And like he definitely had like a performance like relatability thing, and that's like why he was so like popular. And like he had that accent that Ashton Kutcher tries to constantly impersonate in his performance, in his portrayal. Like
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of how it goes, where he's like the iPod, like the way like that accent that he
Yeah.
had, like
Oh, wait, did you just say Ashton Kutcher or are you saying Michael
Ashton
Fassbender?
Kutcher. Yeah,
Oh,
because I
yeah.
think they play it. Obviously, they play it very differently, and like, but Ashton
Oh
Kutcher
man.
mainly rides
Yeah.
off that like doing that specific accent. It's more of like doing his accent than really immersing himself in the role, I guess you could say. But we'll get
Yeah,
to all that.
we're gonna get into the
Yeah,
performances
but
of the
I think it's
two.
cool we touched on the Bay, and we touched on. I guess we pretty much touched on every film from the Bay so far, and Sorkin. But then I guess when we get back, we could talk about what like a couple of films we've been watching lately.
Yeah. Let's get to
Yeah.
this commercial break, guys, and we'll be back.
All right. I mean, yeah, man. Since you're the guest, dude, if you want to start off by talking about something you've watched recently.
Okay. Yeah, so as you all know, not John, but I'm a really big Italian horror fan. And
Yeah, I mean, I think only I knew that, but now everyone knows.
yeah, I'm a big Italian horror fan. And
Yeah, he is.
I just watched this film called Four Flies on Grey Velvet, directed by Dario Argento, who's
Mm.
a pretty big, one of the most famous Italian horror directors, or even the like one of the most famous Italian directors of all time, pretty much. He's probably, yeah, both like artistically, like critically and commercially, because he had some big hits in the 70s and 80s. And if you talk to people in Italy, like they'll know, like the biggest name in Italian horror is Dario Argento, pretty much. And there's also other names, but on a mainstream level, like if you talk to someone in Italy and you bring up like the big names, like there's Mario Bava obviously, and then there's Dario Argento, and then like Lucio Fulci, but I don't really know who Mario Bava is or Lucio Fulci, even though I would say they're even more influential than Dario Argento, but they know who Dario Argento is and stuff. But he's like a big name in that. And I just watched this film called Four Flies on Grey Velvet, and it's a giallo film. I don't know if you guys are familiar with
Yeah.
like giallo, John.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. But it was all right. It was all right. But yeah.
Nice. Yeah, John, you went down a Argento rabbit hole a few years ago, right?
Yeah, a few years ago, I think for October, I tried to watch I haven't seen that one, but I tried to watch a lot of his.
Watched a fair amount.
Deep Red, Opera,
Yeah,
Suspiria.
Deep Red is really good. Deep Red is like,
Deep Red's great. Yeah.
it's really a work of genius when it comes to the giallo. It's probably his most like well constructed film.
Yeah, and I like Mario Bava too. I think I've only seen maybe one of his, one or two,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but yeah, that was the year I
Nice.
got into giallo. So nice. It's a
Yeah.
good recommendation. I'm gonna try and watch that.
Yeah, well, it's the third. So he has his first three films are The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, Cat O' Nine Tails and Four Flies on Grey Velvet, which is considered his animal trilogy because they all have an animal in the title, and then also they're all giallo orientated films.
Right.
But I think the Four Flies on Grey Velvet is my least favorite out of the three. But I would definitely recommend Bird with the Crystal Plumage because that was a super influential horror film of the time. I think Brian De Palma was really influenced by it. You can see it in his like in his horror films of the 70s. He definitely saw Bird with the Crystal Plumage because it has like this Hitchcockian feel to it, but instead of like, because Hitchcock never really showed violence because he couldn't pass the censors.
Right, because of the era he was stuck in.
Yeah, the era he was stuck in, and I think Dario Argento was the first one to actually do the Hitchcock style with the violence that you actually see. And then Brian De Palma that and ran with it, and Brian De Palma is like a Hitchcock with the violence
for sure,
the more pervy, sleazier Hitchcock. But
yeah, I saw like a snippet of like a Tarantino thing. He's on another podcast, you know, as he is often, and it was basically the snippet was him saying that like Hitchcock like was really held back by his time and stuff like that. And
that was on the Tom Segura.
Was it exactly? Was it that one? Okay, you know exactly which one.
Yeah, I've seen like dude, I've seen all the Tarantino interviews. I've read like all of his books. Like I listened to like all his podcasts. You can see here.
Right, and we have a Django Unchained and an Interstellar poster right behind Felix, which is a very fitting duo as well.
Yeah. Those are probably like my two favorite mainstream American directors, John. If you
okay, cool. Nolan and Tarantino.
Yeah. Like I'll see. Those are the two directors that I'll see their film opening day. Like the first time I can see it, I'll see them. Those like only those two dudes. Yeah.
Nice. So are you pretty excited for Oppenheimer?
Oh yeah, bro. It's already a classic and it's not even out yet.
It already
the
blew
trailer
my
alone
mind.
is
No, dude, it's like that's like super excited for that. I know it's already a classic, so it's gonna be it's gonna be so good.
Yeah.
I mean,
he looks pretty in his lane with that one.
Man.
So it's big and historical in a different way probably than Dunkirk. You'd think.
And I noticed you got when I was listening to the worst of on your guys' podcast, you guys brought up the Judd Apatow, Bill Maher. Was it the Bill Maher, Judd Apatow?
Yeah, Bill Maher. Yeah, you've seen that one
Luke
too.
Brought that up,
You've seen that one too. Then
we're
both our feeds sound a little similar. if we're both just like scrolling and watching these Tarantino sound bites.
Yeah.
Where he shares. Yeah, I mean, I liked that one specifically because like he talks about like for Inglourious Bastards. This is a thing I didn't mention from it. And when he's talking about Inglourious Bastards, he's like, I wanted to get all the good Jews for my for all to be the Inglourious Bastards, but all of the Jews he wanted are like the comedians that work with Apatow, and they all happen to be doing funny people. Like I think he was going to give the role of the bear Jew, who is played by Eli Roth, right? And he wanted to give that to Mr. Adam Sandler, and Adam Sandler's already in funny people, unfortunately. But dang, too bad. Sometimes schedules conflict, and it's like kind of a damn shame like that we didn't get Adam Sandler as the bear Jew.
What could have been?
Yeah, like that would have been pretty cool.
Yeah, that would have been weird. Like that definitely would have been weird because you also have the Mike Myers cameo in Inglourious Bastards as well. Because he plays like
forgot about
sergeant or something, who gives Michael Fassbender whatever his mission is to go with the bastards to the cinema or go to the basement.
Oh, so yeah, he gives him the information in the nice like dining room.
Yeah.
Right, that's Mike Myers. Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Lieutenant
crazy.
Archie Hickox. That's the name of the character. That's Michael Fassbender's character.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. And in
Little
that.
prelude to Fassbender, I guess. All right, nice. Yeah. All right. All right. I'll go next.
Yeah.
All right. So the one movie I watched would be a Spike Lee joint from 1994. It's Crooklyn, which is one I hadn't seen yet. I love Spike Lee, especially 90s and early 2000s Spike Lee. And I'd say this is probably one of the most personal Spike Lee movies I've seen, because it's a little like autobiographical, and it seems like it's a little about his family. Oh, there you go. I own that as well. Nice. Yeah, Bamboozled is great.
So good, dude. Bamboozled is like my favorite Spike Lee movie. But
yeah, that's definitely one of the best ones,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, like he really goes for the moon with that one. Yeah, so Crooklyn is a little more down to earth than that one. Crooklyn is a very like self-contained family, and a lot of times family hangout movie, like day in the life thing, which is really my thing. I love that type of stuff where he gives a lot of it's a lot of neighborhood vibes of this family in Brooklyn, and a lot of humor, a lot of stuff like that. But in the end, this family in Brooklyn is struggling, and like the father is the father is very dedicated to his music, and bringing real music back, but he is unfortunately bringing no money into the house. And so the mom and wife is always mad at him because she teaches and takes care of the family. And in the end, this movie is an ode to, I don't want to like make any big leaps because I don't know everything about this, but this movie seems very autobiographical to Spike Lee. And I would like to think this is about like maybe Spike Lee's mom and just like moms everywhere, because it ends up being kind of a tribute to all she's really doing for the family, and that all her efforts are really like what's holding the family together. So it ends up being like just very interesting in that way.
Well, yeah. I haven't seen Crooklyn, but I've seen Clockers.
I haven't seen Clockers. That sounds like maybe a year or two earlier, right?
Is that the
Or
Edward
later?
Norton one?
It's a Harvey
Isn't-
Keitel.
That's one of the Edward
Harvey
Norton.
Keitel.
Oh, that's
Oh, yeah.
oh,
is
yes.
Clockers? Okay, yeah, I think. Wait, is Edward Norton in Clockers?
Edward.
Oh, no,
he
that
might
he's
be,
in,
he might be. He's in 25th Hour.
25th
and another
Hour. That's
one.
what I was thinking of. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a very good one. But
Yeah.
I've heard Clockers is good too. With
Yeah,
Harvey Keitel.
Clockers is good. Bamboozled is good, and Black Klansman is good too.
Yeah, Black Klansman's very good.
Yeah.
I like them all for the most part.
Yeah,
but
Spike Lee is cool. He's
He
Yeah.
is. All right, but yeah, that's Crooklyn.
All right. Well, something I watched recently was coincidentally, it stars Jesse Eisenberg, and we were just talking about Social
Nice.
Network. It's
yeah.
a movie called The Double.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was interested in this when you logged it.
Yeah. Directed by Richard Ayoade, who is a British comedian who really, what I know him from most is like British panel shows and like the IT Crowd.
Yeah.
IT
Crowd.
Yeah. But he's directed a few movies, this being one of them. And it's Jesse Eisenberg, Mia Wasikowska. Hope I'm saying that right. But and also a great cameo from Wallace Shawn, who you don't see too
Wallace
often
Shawn,
nowadays.
dude, legend.
Yeah. And yeah, this was if you know Richard Ayoade from any of those comedy things that he does, this would kind of throw you off, because this is a movie based off a Dostoevsky novel, I think also called Double. But it's basically where this guy starts to see his double at his work, and all of a sudden like taking over his life, and they become friends at first, but then it quickly turns dark. But yeah, this is a very like stylized grim movie too. You know, it's definitely gives off some like Wes Anderson vibes with the sort of eccentric style of it. Same with Terry Gilliam too. This reminds me a lot of the movie Brazil. If you've ever seen that.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's a good psychological thriller, kind of goofy too. Jesse Eisenberg is great at playing sort of this kind of dorky loser type guy. But then also his double is a very like confident snob. He's kind of manipulating everybody, and he's so great at that. So it's Jesse Eisenberg in like a dual role,
Right.
which is pretty interesting.
One that can kind of be like, anybody who thinks Jesse Eisenberg isn't like versatile or like just does one thing. No, this movie he literally does, two different performances. So it's like it
Yeah,
can put an end to that endless thing. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people say that about him when I'm like, I mean, obviously he's like a type, so he does have his type, but like I don't know, like he delivers great performances as well, even though it's always
yeah.
tends to be someone nerdy-ish.
Yeah, dude, there's this episode of the IT Crowd where there's this character that I think the girl is dating, and his name is Peter File. His name is Peter File. And there's this part there when he's in an airport or something, and they're like, report like all pedophiles, like report all pedophiles. And then he's like running through the airport and he's like, I'm Peter File. I'm Peter File. And
Yeah,
that's like
I've
the
not
most
seen that.
no,
Me
that's like
neither.
the most memorable thing about the IT Crowd that I've seen is the Peter File one.
Yeah, I've only seen a few episodes of that, but it is so much different from the double.
Yeah.
But yeah, not to say that there
Literally.
aren't some comedic elements in this, but yeah, it's interesting that his I think this is the only movie of his that I've seen that he's directed, but I think the other one that got kind of big is also a fairly serious movie too. So
Was it like talking about Submarine?
Submarine, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Submarine's a nice little coming of age British drama.
Good to know.
All right, nice. Yeah.
He always
Yeah.
does seem to keep doing interesting things though. Like he did that Art of Self-Defense movie.
Oh,
Yeah, I
dude.
like that one.
Like another
Yeah.
one I haven't seen, which apparently is like a different take on a Fight Club thing,
Oh, you haven't
Yeah.
seen The Art of Self-Defense?
No. I'm just
Oh,
I
yeah.
know of it, like that's all.
Yeah, I like that one a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah.
Yeah, Jesse Eisenberg's career has kind of fallen off a little bit.
Yeah. Like we don't really know what he's doing, but then he does interesting things like this. He's not, his popularity isn't up, but he does
No.
seem to be doing interesting projects.
Yeah, like Vivarium.
I've heard of that. I haven't seen that.
Oh, yeah.
It's like they move into the suburbs or something, and that's like a horror movie.
Right.
Yeah, like every
right.
house is exactly the same. Yeah.
Right.
I remember seeing that and being kind of underwhelmed, but
You saw it?
yeah,
Yeah.
back when it came out, like 2019.
Yeah, that's probably like kind of what tanked him a little bit.
He was
That-
Lex Luthor too. I forgot about that.
Lex Luthor. Yeah, I know I'm in the minority here, but I actually enjoy Batman versus Superman.
Yeah, it's like kind of interesting actually.
It's actually kind of fun to watch.
Yeah.
it's
It's just like
actually-
it's just so long. I think that's like my main problem with it,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, have you seen the Ultimate Cut or whatever?
No, I haven't. I heard it all comes together there.
No,
or
yeah,
whatever.
it's way better, and you get so much more backstory of all the characters and the cyborg dude, whatever his name is, and it's actually
Right.
like a much better, more like fleshed
But
out.
Jesse
picture.
Eisenberg kind of does do a good job in that movie, even though he's miscast very much. But
Yeah.
he does do a good job of like setting up the fight and being like, it's black versus white or something like that. It's
Yeah.
dark and night, like
Yeah,
he kind of like it's like he's an announcer for it or something like that. He announces the fight that's about to happen for the audience. I mean, I like that. There's stuff in it I like. I'm not like
Yeah.
some people really like are so anti like DC and stuff like that. I don't have enough weight in the game to have like very strong opinions or care enough,
Yeah, it's
But I
just
do
like
like
the fan. Yeah, the fanboy culture around it kind
Yeah.
of ruins
Yeah.
it. But it's actually, if you just like watch it, without
Yeah,
all
there's
that.
like a lot of well done things in that and
Yeah.
the Justice League film.
Yeah, I'm a pretty big. I'm a Snyder fan. Like, I was with Ian and we saw Zack Snyder at Baskin Robbins in Highland Park, with his kids,
Oh yeah.
like his adopted kids.
Did you go up to him?
No, I was just like, is that Zack Snyder? And then I like looked it up. I'm like, oh yeah, that was him with his kids. Like, because his kids looked way different than he did, and I was like, what? And then I was like, oh yeah, he has like a couple of adopted kids, but we won't get into the other.
Is that the
Good stuff,
Baskin
but-
Robbins that like I've been to? You saw him at that one?
Yeah, the one on Figueroa. Yeah,
The
yeah,
one on Fig.
yeah. No, because
Gotta
he
plug
probably-
that Baskin Robbins.
Yeah.
yeah, that.
If you ever
Baskin
want to
Robbins-
see Zack Snyder and his kids hang
He
out
might be
there,
there,
eventually,
yeah.
he might show up. Yeah.
Yeah, well, he went to Art Center, which is in Pasadena, so he's probably
Oh,
familiar with Highland
So he's
Park.
from that like area, he's an East LA
Yeah.
boy.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's from like Michigan, but he went to school,
Oh.
like, I think he went to grad school at Art Center where he met Michael Bay. 'Cause Michael
Nice.
Bay went to Art Center.
What a
as well.
duo too. Yeah, what a
Yeah.
duo.
It
I'm
makes
sure,
sense. It makes
I'm sure they
sense
hit it
that
off
day.
great,
Yeah. But
Yeah. Like my
Anyway.
style is big action, so is mine.
yeah. But yeah, Jesse
alright.
Eisenberg, Social Network.
Uh,
So yeah.
So yeah, I think it's back to you then, Felix, for your next film. If John, you are all done.
I'm
Oh, yeah,
done.
John.
We are so far past it at this point.
Yeah, we were kind of
I've been
going-
done. Yeah.
I've accepted I was done a while ago.
I yield my time.
unfortunately.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, have you guys heard of this movie called The Guilty?
Yeah,
I
that's the
don't think
Jake Gyllenhaal Netflix one.
No, okay,
Right.
so there's a Jake Gyllenhaal Netflix one, and then that's a remake of a Danish movie. And I'm talking the original
idea.
one. The original one is really good, and it's like
So not the Antoine Fuqua one.
no,
The
dude, fuck Antoine Fuqua, dude.
the one by John Reinhardt.
Dude, Antoine. No, his name is like he's a Danish guy, like a young Danish guy. His debut feature, and they just remade like the whole script in English. And I haven't seen the remake, but from like clips and stuff, they just like literally take the same dialogue but in English, which you could just watch it in Danish. And,
Yeah, it's like literally transcribing the script back.
yeah. they literally like just if you can't read subtitles, then I guess watch the Jake Gyllenhaal one or like watch it dubbed. But that movie is really good. It's all takes place in like a police station where this dispatcher is talking to this like kidnapped woman, and it's
Okay.
all like it's literally just him on a phone talking to.
So he's like talking her through it, and it's like that.
Yeah.
That's the setup, Yeah.
yeah, but it's
That's
like
cool.
and it's not what you think is going on. Like there's these twists in it, and the sound
Right.
design, and like the
Right.
dialogue, and it's literally just him. Like it's all him talking on a phone, like literally. But
Right.
it's
And
so,
it's kind of using like that as like a way to hide, hide the plot, I guess, because
Yeah.
he's just on that phone pretty
well,
much.
you're just imagining like what's going on and stuff, and
Right. Okay.
I
That's
would
interesting.
really, yeah, it's on HBO Max, I think. But
And so then the one with Gyllenhaal, he's the guy who's
yeah,
we
he's
always see on the phone. Okay.
he's the guy who's on the phone, and it's like very much like no, I was like really blown away by it, honestly.
Okay. Cool. Have you
Yeah.
ever seen Locke?
Yeah,
Either of
yeah.
you with Tom Hardy?
Locke is
That's a
really good.
movie I really dig that movie.
Yeah,
That's like
yeah.
kind of the same concept, except the movie's very philosophical, which I really dig that one.
Yeah, no, Locke. If you like Locke, then you have to see The Guilty. Because
All
The
right, for
Guilty
sure.
is it's a really good film, and I think for like if you're like an aspiring filmmaker, it's like a really cool film to watch because they use so little, but it's so effective.
Hmm.
Because a lot of cinema is like about what you don't see,
Yeah, that's
And
true.
yeah, it's just like a really good film. I was like
Nice.
pretty surprised by it, and for a directorial debut, and it was like a $500,000 budget or something. And yeah.
Yeah.
So, and now Jake
Alright,
Gyllenhaal's
nice.
next film is with that Danish director.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
cool.
Yeah.
A lot of crossover with that one then.
Yeah, because Jake Gyllenhaal's like he saw the film and was like, "Yo, like let's remake it in English, dude." And the Danish guy's like, "No, why?" Like, no. He's like he didn't want to do it, and then they got
So they're like, let's do
they got a
something
hack.
else.
They got like a hack director to do the remake.
All right. So The Guilty then.
Yeah, Antoine Fuqua,
Oh.
like, yeah, no, yeah. Anyway, yeah, The Guilty.
I mean, I'm not offended by
No.
calling Antoine Fuqua a hat very much so. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah, but
Um,
yeah, it's on HBO Max. It's like an hour and a half.
okay.
Pretty sick, modern, sleek film.
Okay.
And Locke, if you like Locke, then you would like this.
Be up
for
my
sure.
alley then.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the
Okay.
last thing I saw. So yeah.
All right. Yeah, and this will probably be our last round, guys. Just so we can then get to the
Yeah,
movies
I
of
think
the
people are
day.
waiting for us to talk about Steve Jobs.
Yeah, that's what they're really here for.
All the Jobs heads.
Skip to this time code here
Right.
if
Yeah.
you want to
yeah.
talk about Jobs.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. So my next movie is my only 2023 movie I've seen so far this year. I'm very behind, as usual. It's all right. December's a long way away.
Yeah.
We'll get to it then, right?
Yeah.
I'll just get to all of them at one time, as usual. But this one I
Bless you,
kind of had
bless
to
you.
see. Bless
Oh,
you,
shit,
Joe.
bless
thank
you.
Yeah.
Cut that
Bless
out.
you.
Cut that out. Yeah.
God, fuck.
Oh, fuck.
Let's stop. This is getting out of
Just-
control. This whole thing's out of hand. But yeah, like, so I'm a big fan of this trilogy, which is why I had to watch this movie when it came out. It's Magic Mike's Last Dance.
Oh shit,
with
dude.
Yeah, Soderbergh, Salma Hayek, and Channing Tatum. When I saw the trailer for this movie, I got instantly hyped. The trailer specifically is very well cut for this movie. It really makes this movie like oh my god, what a banger this is about to be. And god, they have Salma Hayek in it now. Like, that's such
Yeah.
great casting for it. And I'm a huge fan of the first two, specifically the second one, because the second one goes all out. I love Soderbergh as well, and I think Magic Mike, the first one, is probably, after Ocean's 11, my favorite Soderbergh. Yeah, it goes
Wait,
Ocean's
Double XL
11.
is your favorite one, or the first?
My favorite Magic Mike, yeah. I think
the first one.
Double XL is my favorite Magic Mike. The first one's my second favorite Soderbergh movie. But I think Double XL. Do you get it?
That was confused. It sounded like you said, so the second one's your favorite Magic Mike, but the first one's your second favorite Soderbergh. So then,
the first one,
the second one's your favorite Soderbergh then.
No, second one is technically not a Soderbergh directed movie. That's why it's a gray. I was gonna get to that. It's a gray area.
That
It's
was the confusion.
Definitely ghost directed by Soderbergh, in the way that you could say Top Gun Maverick is ghost directed by McQuarrie and Tom Cruise, but it is technically directed by Gregory Jacobs, who is usually either I forget whether it's the DOP or the first AD of Soderbergh, but that's not a Soderbergh directed movie, even though it is. You know what I mean? So if we're getting technical with Letterboxd rankings, I don't put Magic Mike Double XL on the ranking. So that's why. So all right, we cleared that up.
It's not in the Soderbergh canon. Yeah,
it's not in the Soderbergh canon as officially as the other ones, but The Last Dance is in the Soderbergh canon. He directed it, and I will say I enjoyed this, but it is probably my least favorite of the three, just simply because it doesn't have a lot of weight in the narrative to necessarily hold the runtime, which is unfortunate. It's mainly it's very simple plot. Magic Mike meets Salma Hayek. He dances for her in this very epic scene. which is the peak of the movie, is when he gives Salma Hayek this like private dance in her house. And it's just incredibly well shot. And but like after that, they basically go to London, and she sets up a show for Mike to put on. And it's basically them just kind of planning this show where there's gonna be a bunch of male strippers, and that's
Hot.
really it. And yeah, and that's
That's hot.
It is a hot movie. It is a hot movie. There's a lot of I saw a review by someone I like some magazine or something, and it said it like the quote was like, if dry humping was an art. So like that's pretty much it's like a weird like niche that this movie has, but that's literally what it's doing. It is artistic dry humping is what it is. Like if you want to see Channing Tatum dry hump with Salma Hayek in the most visually pleasing way possible in terms of being shot by Soderbergh and being very cinematic, this is what you're going to get. But like I said, that is by far the peak of the movie. And outside of some other very cool dance scenes, this movie doesn't have much else, unfortunately. And it has a great finale, of course, when the show is played. But other than that, I found this movie kind of like to be a bit of a snoozer at times, and just not having that much going for it. But I don't know. I'm still happy it exists, nevertheless. And I'm fine with them making as many Magic Mikes as they want to make, as long as they keep it, as they keep it fresh.
Yeah, well, you gave it 4 stars on Letterboxd, which seems like that's like pretty good.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think it's a quality film.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. But I saw Magic Mike 1 and that shit was pretty fire, so.
It is. It's really good. I mean, and the second one is like its own like thing. It goes really all out, but I'd say the first one has the most story depth.
Yeah. No, it's honestly really surprising, the first one. Like I thought I saw it back like maybe a year after it came out or something, and this is before I knew about like really what directors were. I didn't know about Steven Soderbergh, and but I saw it and I was like, "Whoa, this is actually like really good." I thought this was going to be some bullshit, but
you're thinking it's like a joke. Yeah, it's going to be like a joke movie that women see as groups and like just ogle over it. But yeah, they're all like very well directed, well made movies about like people, and they're all actually like very uplifting movies as well. Like in The Last Dance, for instance, Salma Hayek is in this huge like midlife crisis rut, and then like meeting Magic Mike like kind of pulls her out of it and stuff like that. So yeah, it's like it's good stuff, and it's like there's good movies.
Yeah, Channing Tatum's hot,
He is, he is.
Like him and Salma Hayek together,
pretty hot. Yeah. We can get Salma Hayek.
We'll do another episode on that.
For sure. But yeah, Steven Soderbergh, like even though he kind of has some duds here and there, like he's going to try to put in his best effort to make a film. And
for sure, and you're gonna have duds when
for sure,
you
like
just
Kimmy.
When you're like, well, I like Kimmy, but you're gonna have duds when you
I did too.
Like, when you make a movie every year,
for sure.
like that schedule, like you're not gonna get everything right, I think. But I think for the most part he does, especially of recently.
Yeah, I can see that too. Like definitely like someone like Woody Allen who puts a movie out every year before he got canceled. Like of course you're gonna have some like duds, but for the most part it's gonna be like they're going to be good films, and they're going to try, like Steven Soderbergh's going to try to do it.
Right. All right. But yeah, that's Magic Mike, The Last Dance.
Really good talk there, Luke.
Thanks, man.
All right. Well, I'll wrap up this section here before we get into jobs.
We've got 3.5 minutes.
This will be quick because
he's got it.
We've talked about this one a lot, and I haven't watched.
Oh, have we?
I haven't watched a lot since our Eraserhead episode, which will be out by the time this comes out. So look out for that.
Hell yeah.
But since then, I have rewatched a favorite, which is Inside Llewyn Davis. And we've talked a lot about Inside Llewyn Davis, at least, in the early days of the podcast, but we've
Right.
never done like a full episode on it. But yeah, it's just I feel like that's definitely a podcast favorite. And it's one I go back to at least once or twice a year. And I think as I get older, the more it hits harder too. So
Right.
yeah.
It does,
Inside
because
Llewyn,
it's about like a movie a lot about like time and having how he has spent all this time, and you really feel the weight of it, even though it
yeah.
is like over the course of say a few days or weeks or whatever, but like that's what it's about. And so I feel like as you get older, you just relate more and more and more to Llewyn Davis for sure.
Yeah, more and more to that scene where he's performing for F. Murray Abraham. I can't remember his character's name, but it's just
Yeah.
the most beautiful, amazing rendition of the song. Gives it everything, and then just to hear that there's not a lot of money in this, and then someone giving him advice, like his music partner died, but he's like, here's my advice: get back together.
Yeah,
he just has
the
no idea,
tragedy
and
of it. Yeah.
and it's just like someone giving you advice on something to do when they don't know.
Right.
It's like it just hurts the ego so much. But
Yeah. That's one that's like both tragedy, uplifting, and comfortable all at the same time
yeah,
somehow. It really strikes that balance very well, and that's why I think it's endlessly a very rewatchable therapeutic movie.
Yeah.
definitely.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, get on it, man.
Yeah, here's your recommendation. Yeah.
Yeah, I should see. I've heard a lot about it for the past 10 years, so yeah.
Yeah, you've heard enough about it, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, you could borrow it from me or Jake or whatever. We both
Yeah.
own it.
Yeah, we can.
Great
Yeah,
Oscar Isaac performance. Yeah.
yeah, Oscar Isaac, Ex Machina. Yeah.
Yeah.
He is in that movie.
But that's like his best film, right?
Oscar Isaac, Star Wars.
Yeah, wait, Rogue One.
I think his best film is Return of Skywalker or
Oh,
whatever.
dude.
Rise
Yeah.
of Skywalker. I don't remember what it's
So
called.
fucking good, bro. Oh my God, dude. Cinebums. I'm on the Cinebums podcast.
We're about to get cut off.
About to get cut off. I just want to say I'm on the Cinebums podcast and it's fucking lit. All right. And we're back.
Yeah. To preface this, just so everyone's clear on what we're doing here, we are covering Jobs versus Steve Jobs. Jobs being the 2013 TV movie
Well, it
directed
wasn't
by.
a TV movie. It was actually released in theaters because I saw it in the theaters.
Why don't? All right, I've been saying it's a TV movie like this whole.
It could
past
be a
week.
TV. It could be like a
Maybe it's
well-produced
because of the
TV
quality
movie.
of it. That's why I just think it had to be. You know what I mean?
No, I specifically remember seeing it in 2013 with my mom in the
In the
theaters.
theaters. All
Yeah.
right. Never mind, y'all. Not a TV movie. Just a very questionable regular movie. But yeah, so the 2013, directed by Joshua Michael Stern and starring Ashton Kutcher. And we'll eventually get to how many comedic actors are also in this. And then Steve Jobs in 2015, directed by Danny Boyle and written by Aaron Sorkin, based off the Walter Isaacson book. And it also stars Kate Winslet and Seth Rogen. So yeah, these movies are kind of like, as people would say, old, that we're covering. But yeah, I don't know. Before I guess to preface this, I can say that I am personally a little into. I've had my Steve Jobs like nerd phase, mainly from watching these movies. But I read the book that Walter Isaacson wrote, like his autobiography, and it's a very interesting one. And I think there's a lot of like interesting parts, like depending on like whether you're someone who's like, God, Steve Jobs was like, there's like two crowds, you know what I mean? There's like there's three. There's like one that doesn't, there's a group that doesn't give a fuck about Steve Jobs. And then there's a group that everyone's like, Steve Jobs, you know, he didn't know anything about like tech or anything. He was just a madman, and he was like, he just like was mean to all his programmers, and he was like you know, all about marketing. And then there's words about how Thomas Edison was like that too. And then there's the group that reveres Steve Jobs as a genius and whatnot, an artist or whatever. And I don't know if I fall specifically into one of those categories, but I do find Steve Jobs' life to be interesting. There's a lot of story beats that you can take away of like just like how his life turned out, and like just his baggage with maybe his family and whatnot, and how that led to maybe some of his relationships. And I'm a guy also who never gets tired of someone who went down like like a hippie subculture, and how that like from the 70s and 60s, and how that formed I guess the way they view the world and the way they think. So I'm mainly into those things about Steve Jobs, of course, because of also all the things he accomplished as well. But yeah, I don't know. I'm personally into Steve Jobs. I've been into Steve Jobs before just because I read that book and seen these movies. I don't know about you guys.
Oh yeah, bro, I was totally inspired by by Steve Jobs like 10 years ago. Even up
Yeah.
into college for sure. I was inspired by him.
What'd you do with that? What'd you do with that inspiration? Did you try to build a computer?
Well, no, I think I was more inspired by the fact that I could use his tools to create art.
Oh yeah, like okay, like the way he viewed
Yeah.
his like products as like what they would be for people. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the big inspiration, the fact that you can create anything on his computer. Like he wanted to create things that anyone could use to make pretty much anything, design anything, whether you're talking about like making a film, you know, drawing out, like doing like architecture, buildings, design. All of that is very inspiring. And I think that's what's so cool, because everything that I do is on the computer, you know, everything I do is created on this MacBook Pro that I'm using right now. And the
Nice.
first, I'm an Apple guy, you know, I've only had Macs, I've only had iPhones, you know. Yeah, and I think I was so inspired by kind of, I guess, his, I don't know, it's just like creativity and like, I guess his success as a young adolescent, you know, not so much now, but we'll get into that, because
I think there are things like about like the future he definitely predicted right, like such as like what you're saying about like everyone, if they have a computer, you know, like, you know what I mean, it become that line where it's like it becomes a vehicle for the mind, you know, like that line. And kind of like how The Social Network, there's like that line where JT says everyone will live on the internet. Like there's the beginning of like, there's the beginning of Steve Jobs, which I guess we could just start getting into since I'm bringing up the very beginning, where he's like, where they're like presenting the personal computer and the advancements of it, and they're like, everyone will be able to eventually live anywhere in the world and conduct business right from here and work remotely. Like it'll enrich our culture and blah blah blah. And like that's literally like the era we're in now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how just how much Steve Jobs sort of has I don't know, over like encompasses our entire like upbringing for our generation. Like everything that he was doing to sort of change the world was sort of happening while we were coming up to. So I think he really resonated a lot with our generation. And I remember being in like high school when he died, and and that was like a huge deal for us as like high school students for some reason. But it's like everything, like the iPod had become the big thing then too, and iTunes
and also,
and all that.
The thing about Steve Jobs is that he was an inventor. Like everything that's come out since he died. There hasn't been any new.
Yeah, I mean, like you
products
can't
since-
say any except for like say the cameras. Like, what really are they like promoting that is that new about like the devices? Really, like,
Yeah, dude.
oh, you still have that one. Was that new?
This is
That's like,
iPhone
oh,
10X.
yeah, it's
I
a
think.
way old. Yeah, see, like now, but like this is technically new,
We
but then they
all have a
updated
different
even
one. Yeah.
more. Oh
Yeah.
wow, you only got two.
I didn't mean to flex my United Explorer
Sorry-
card either.
sorry
Sorry.
Oh, shit.
Sorry to
Hacked.
flex my 3
Hacked.
lenses on y'all guys, but
Yeah, well, right now, guys,
it's the real deal.
Yeah, for those who are listening, we're showing each other our iPhones on
Yeah.
camera. But yeah, but the thing about Steve Jobs is that he always was like, no, we have to like outdo ourselves. We have to invent something new and put out a new product and not like reiterate, upgrade the same thing every year over and over and
Right.
over,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is what Apple has become at this point.
Right.
There hasn't been
yeah,
any new
definitely.
products besides, I think, the Apple Watch, but I also heard that was also his thing as well. But literally,
Right.
Probably.
Apple doesn't really have that drive anymore to create like new actual
No.
new
Yeah.
new
He
technology.
clearly he was the force behind it with him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what's crazy is he
Because he
created
was
enough
fucking nuts, dude. It's because he
Yeah,
was
yeah.
fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Like he
Yeah.
was like pushing people beyond their like limits and stuff. And I don't
Right.
think Tim Cook or whoever has that drive in them. And Apple's kind of just
No.
they're just working on profits now,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Seemed like there was a lot of like rapid change when he was
Oh yeah, it's like
in his like golden age of Apple,
Mhm.
really.
Yeah, he like
And
invented everything that we still have like
Yes.
now. Like they
Yes.
invented it was like such a clusterfuck of new inventions. Like it was
Yes.
insane.
and
Yeah.
now there's like not as much new things. And
No, there's
it's almost
literally
becoming
nothing.
stale. And that's
Yeah.
now everyone is talking shit about Steve Jobs and Elon Musk and
Yeah.
all those guys, which I'm definitely very mixed on all of them as well. But
Mhm.
yeah, but now we've gotten to a point where there's not a whole lot of new things, and we're kind of sick of these billionaire tech guys.
Yeah.
At this
And I
point.
remember, I think, John, you brought it up, and maybe it was like the worst of last year when you talk about Don't Look Up, the Elon Musk, Tim Cook character in that, who's like the villain in Don't Look Up. And that's kind of like one of the first
Yeah.
films. And also in the newest Jurassic World, the villain is like a Tim Cook dude, or like a,
for
and
sure.
that's
For sure.
kind of like the zeitgeist we're living in now, where it's like those guys are actually more demonized than before. When we're going to talk about with the films, they're like in Steve Jobs and in Jobs, they're very much inspirational, like figurehead thought leaders.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, so all right, for in Steve Jobs specifically, I think that like they do have a gray area with that, but I do think it ends on a very where it's like, yeah, this guy was an inspiration and did everything, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it kind of draws away from that because it ends on an inspirational note, but all right, so I guess the summary of the plot of Steve Jobs is it's 3 product launches. First one is Macintosh, the first ever one, which is like their product after the Apple II.
Yeah.
Second product launch is Next. That's when Steve Jobs leaves Apple, goes out on his own, invents a new computer. That's really overly expensive and doesn't do anything. Third one is back at Apple. He's CEO. He's saving the company practically. And I believe the line is
The
4
iMac.
months from insolvency is what they say, like in both films. And it's the iMac, which is for me the computer that was like when I was maybe 3rd grade or something like that. 1st to 3rd grade was like what we started using, where I was like, whoa, look, we're in computer class. This is cool. Like, look at all you can
Yeah.
do on these computers, and they're so simple and blah blah blah. And like,
Fuck yeah.
just that design, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
of the
that shell with the blue and the red.
Yeah.
right,
stuff.
and
Yeah.
how you can open the hatch, you know, and there's like just those all the like the outputs just right there. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Ton of
Still-
nostalgia for those. Yeah.
Dude, for
Yeah,
sure, bro.
still good looking computer. But yeah, I don't so the first product launch, they're trying to get the one the Macintosh to say hello with Andy Hertzfeld, who is also in Steve Jobs, but plays a much smaller role. I mean, in Jobs, he plays a much. This is gonna be confusing. He plays a much smaller role in Jobs than he does in Steve Jobs. In Steve Jobs, he is in every single sequence, in every single product launch. He's a key character. There's always like multiple times where they're like, bring me Andy, and they say which one, and they're always like Hertzfeld. Like that happens like multiple times, and I honestly don't even know what other Andy they're talking about most of the time.
And he's like, and I paid for your daughter's college.
yeah, that's what ends up happening. And
he's like, I created the world in 7 days, or what does he say? He's like,
the line goes, he said, you had 3 weeks. The universe was recreated in a third of that time. And then Andy Hertzfeld says, well, someday you'll have to tell us how you did it. And that's like a big line in the movie.
That's very Sorkin. Can we talk about the Sorkin dialogue? And
specifically because that's all there is to talk about in this movie, because that's all it is. And boy, does it come out just gunning in this opening scene as they are just basically they're showing. I kind of like the way they cover like the room, the big auditorium, and meanwhile there's a bunch of like voiceover of like, it's got to say hello. How is it going to say hello? It's got to say hello. And then you see like Steve Jobs' like kid and his like her mom who like he abandoned sitting there. They're kind of like waiting for him to be ready to meet with them. Like you can kind of see the seeds of conflict like planted already as it's happening.
But
and
it's just like that Sorkin dialogue where it's like the conversations that they have, it's almost like every line is a one-up of the next line.
It is.
Like
it is.
Sort of.
It kind of has great, and it has like rhythm to it as
they are
doing that, But I will say in this movie, I used to revere it a little bit more, that aspect of it. I think now I am a little bit more. This time I was watching, I was like, all right, it's getting to be a little much. These characters are such fucking assholes, But
especially like with the daughter in it. There's a part where they're fighting in front of all those people, and they're like back and forth, and it's like no one would. They're just like sparring with words, and I'm like, no one would actually like say this. Like no one would actually like say this shit out.
And to get specific, like there's an interaction with Wozniak each and every time, played by Seth Rogen, who I think is great in this movie, by the way. But each interaction I think is very good. I think they're maybe the peaks of the movie. I don't know if you guys have a favorite I don't know, talk off in this, but I think those are the peaks in it for me. But I think both,
I think so. I think I would agree.
They go hard, right? They go hard, especially the second and the third one.
And I think the high point as well is, I think, in the third act when he's talking to Jeff Daniels, and he's like in the garage, and he's in the board meeting, and then they're talking in that hallway.
I think that's the second product launch. You mean the one from the video?
The one from the video.
This episode. It's like that's what men do. See, I think that one goes a little too hard, because he's just like, Jeff Daniels is like taking all these like words, and Jeff Daniels is like, oh man, like he's literally like just like reacting like, oh my god, he's giving me so much shit right now. This guy's a maniac. But the Seth Rogen ones specifically, they build towards these very huge, grandiose lines that I think swing a little too hard too. Like the first one is the big I play the orchestra line. That's in Act 2, and then in Act 3, Seth Rogen at one point says like, I'm sick of being made to think I was Ringo when I know I was John. And that in that moment, I'm like, all right, that's a little much. But I think everything else, I really love like their back and forth in it, and I think it's very good. And I think Seth Rogen really holds his own against Michael Fassbender, who is going really
Yeah.
fucking hard in this movie.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he has to, like, he's playing Steve Jobs, you know? And I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
there's also an interesting history behind the film because it was originally supposed to be David Fincher and then Leonardo DiCaprio, right? And then they were like, he was like, "Oh, I want $10 million with Final Cut," and then and then they were like, "Oh no, whoever produced the film, I forgot," but
Leonardo DiCaprio is Steve Jobs.
Leonardo DiCaprio, and then it was Christian Bale who was going to be in it.
Bale is better than
Wow.
DiCaprio
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
Jobs.
I don't
I
know if it
don't.
was that. I don't know if it was specifically that order, but it was DiCaprio and then Bale, and then it was Fassbender with Danny, and then Danny Boyle like directed
Right.
it. Yeah, and then also when they were making the Steve Jobs movie, Aaron Sorkin and Tim Cook had a little back and forth because
Really?
Tim Cook was like, "Oh, they're making another Steve Jobs movie. Like this is very opportunistic," and Aaron Sorkin's response was, "Oh, you're talking about opportunism? Like you guys are exploiting kids in fucking China,
Oh
like making
wow,
iPods
wow.
and
Yeah,
shit.
not
Like
one to talk at
you
all.
can't be talking
Yeah.
about opportunistic shit." Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
But yeah, to go off Michael Fassbender being very good, like there's a scene specifically where he's walking to the backstage area with Joanna Hoffman, who's played by Kate Winslet, who was apparently Steve Jobs' like head of marketing or whatever. And in
yeah,
this, she's always by his side. But he's kind of just like talking as she's like trying to follow him and whatnot. And he's saying stuff like, if IBM this, then da da da. If IBM is the leading computer company, IBM owns the information age, and that is very bad for the human race. And as he says that line, I'm watching Michael Fassbender, and I'm like, this guy is so wired into this performance right now. It's just like
yeah, yeah,
insane as he's spewing all this dialogue. Like he may be like, I'd say the one thing Ashton Kutcher gets like that is, you could say, maybe more closer to Steve Jobs, is he just does the voice. Like Michael Fassbender is going full on into like this portrayal, like
yeah,
for real. Like he's doing some method acting stuff.
yeah. And there's definitely this part in the end when he's like the older Steve Jobs when he's presenting the iMac where he's talking to his daughter, and then when he walks out, it's like a music video where it's like the strobe lights, and
Right.
it's
Yeah,
like
I remember.
Yeah.
it's so like operatic and so like
Yeah.
sensationalized when he starts walking out, all the lights are flashing, and he's like, is
It's
he
like,
like, yeah, 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 yeah,
yeah.
and it's just,
Um, and then
I
to go
think
off.
I
Oh yeah,
think
what were you
Luke,
saying
what
now?
you said, I mean, I know we'll talk more about Jobs too, but I think what you said at the end there kind of sums up these two movies. Is like Jobs, they really went hard at trying, like Ashton Kutcher looks just like these
yeah,
younger Steve Jobs
for
photos.
sure,
And then his like character sounds a lot like him too. They're really focused
Right,
on like the
right.
details to get like accuracy
It's like,
on
let's
those certain
typecast it as
things.
much as possible,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Whereas then Steve Jobs is more about like what's compelling about the story
right,
of this guy
right.
and the company too.
mm,
Yeah. And to go off the Walter Isaacson autobiography, basically Steve Jobs is a and I'm like an amalgamation of what is in that book, the material in that book, but Sorkin structures it so that every single like, basically piece of baggage or flaw or piece of conflict that was known to be in Steve Jobs' life, he just structures it so that each product launch, all of that comes out. Like whatever was going on at the time comes out. So this is a very dramatized, very, like obviously it's based off of everything is based off of real. It's based off the autobiography, but it's very fictionalized in how, all right, bring me, Steve Wozniak now, bring me Andy Hertzfeld. Like everyone wants to, like, there's even a line in Act 2 where it kind of, they're almost like commenting on the structure of of its movie, where he's like, what happens every product launch? Like, it's like everyone I know gets drunk and then tells me what they really think, which is, I think like maybe like a self-aware side to the script of like what they're clearly doing, like the over dramatized play aspect of this.
Yeah, I actually think I kind of like have praise for the structure of the Steve Jobs movie, like the way that it does like a product launch instead of doing like a straight
Yeah,
up
it's very
autobiography.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
instead of doing
Yeah.
a biography where it's like montaging through this guy's life, it's literally like
right.
just taking three specific moments that play out in real time
Yeah.
as like the act structure, which is a really cool way to do things rather than like
hmm
Jobs where it's just this
It's like
fucking long
so stereotypical.
dude.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
the Wikipedia page of Steve
yeah.
Yeah,
Jobs
it
in film
literally it
form.
is.
Yeah.
No, it's literally like the biography of his like entire life, which is, and it just takes the blueprint of any sort of biography movie where it's just like the montaging through everyone's
Mhm.
like life, and then yeah, but literally like Steve Jobs, it's basically three three films in real
3 short
time.
films, yeah, in a
Yeah,
way.
yeah,
Mhm.
and then you have some like cross-cutting between like board meetings or like kind of flashbacks, which is
Right,
really
yeah, there's
cool.
flashbacks to what happened between, like, the Macintosh and, like,
Yeah,
the next computer and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, the first, like, section kinda just introduces, like, everything that's going on, and it really does feel like the beginning of it, and then the second act kind of builds upon that further, and I don't know, each one is its own piece, and I find them all to be their own interesting one. I don't know if I have a favorite part over the other. I don't know, maybe the second one if I had to pick, but um
yeah, I don't yeah, probably the second one with Jeff Daniels.
yeah, yeah.
The part with Jeff when he's like the part literally from the clip where they're comparing the two
Yeah,
Steve
yeah.
Jobs movie.
And then I like the flashback with Jeff Daniels where they're like arguing about like the Macintosh or whatever and how it made no money, and Jeff Daniels has like this big like outburst where he's like, the shareholders are my problem, Steve. I represent the board that represents the shareholders, and he's just like
Oh yeah,
yelling at
yeah.
him. Yeah,
And they're at the desk, which is also
yeah.
in the Jobs movie.
Oh,
Dude,
like yeah, the board, yeah, like the board where
the
the
board with
exact
J.K.
replica
Simmons.
scene where they
J.K.
fire him,
Simmons.
they outvote him. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think it's dude, the guy from Full Metal Jacket is the board head in Jobs. Or no, the guy who the CEO of Apple, the Jeff Daniels character is played by the guy from
uh
Full Metal Jacket. What's his name?
Oh, Matthew, isn't it Matthew
Matthew
Modine?
Modine.
yes,
Yeah.
that's
Matthew
it. Yeah.
Modine plays the CEO of Apple in
Yeah,
Jobs.
yeah. Everybody in Jobs is somebody. We can say that right off the bat. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. And Seth
There's
Rogen.
multiple.
Yeah, but like in Steve Jobs, Seth Rogen, like does his best and stuff. Yeah, to like be
Yeah.
this.
He's
Yeah.
really great in it, and I think it's a good time to bring this performance back around because The Fablemans was out this past year
Oh
and
yeah, yeah.
Seth Rogen was very good in that, and like that was really impressive because he had to be the catalyst that um pretty much breaks up Michelle Williams and Paul Dano, who are two of the like most intense actors that we have. So like props to Seth Rogen for that.
Yeah, yeah, because I never saw Seth Rogen as an actor. I just saw him as like a comedian that like did comedy movies, and then he's like now trying out. Like same with like Jonah Hill. Like I don't really. I guess they're like technically actors because they're acting in movies, but this is kind of like this is Seth Rogen's Moneyball, whereas Jonah Hill's like
Yeah, I'd
yeah,
say so. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
that's
good
a good.
point. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, but yeah, and he's like the Apple II, like you gotta give the credit to the
The
Apple
Apple II
II.
had all the slots. Like the reason
Yeah,
they like the Apple II is because of all the slots.
yeah. And like there's a whole through line about the Apple II, how he doesn't want to thank the Apple II,
Yeah.
which is I
And
guess
and
yeah.
I think it builds perfectly to the final one interaction, which I think is one of my favorite scenes of the movie where like they're arguing in front of everybody and they're like people are trying to like get like the spectators out of there, and they're like, no, everyone stay where they are. It's like so intense, and he still doesn't want to thank the Apple II team, it's just kind of like, I don't know, it's an amalgamation. It's this big savage moment, and he's really like, I don't know, it's almost like he's coming for revenge in that moment,
Yeah.
like even though he's winning in Act 3, as they say, you don't really feel like he's winning. You feel like he's just alienating everybody in order to like just do what he's wanted to do. And the movie's basically making the argument that, as Seth Rogen points out, it basically says, you did not have to be so shitty in order to do all this. You know what I mean? Like you didn't have to.
Yeah, I think that's how. So I think all the parts where they're talking about like the Apple and the business stuff is the most interesting, and then when it gets into his like personal life with Catherine Watterson and the daughter and stuff, I kind of lose more interest in that too. And I think that's kind of the same.
I find it interesting. I mean, Catherine Waterstone has a good part in the first act, I think, but like after that, she's not really doing much. What I think is very interesting actually is in Jobs, how the daughter thing is played out in comparison, because they actually, since it's straightforward, they actually show the scene where she's like, I have your daughter, and he like basically is so shitty and just refuses to like believe it, like right off the bat. He's like, how could I have done that? Yeah, he's like, how could you have said, like he basically like scolds her for like accusing him of impregnating her.
And he's like, the Lisa means locally integrated structure architecture.
Yeah, it's a coincidence. Here, I have that quote pulled up, I think. Oh, I don't anymore. Never mind.
But then he goes, but in the beginning he's like, no, it's just a coincidence. Like I didn't name it after her. It's a coincidence. And then in the end he's like, no, I named it after my daughter.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if any of that's facts or not, but he's like, Lisa, you named it after my daughter. And then Catherine Watterson's like, you said I slept with half the world's, or whatever he says, some shit about the world population.
Basically called her a like a whore. It's in order to like take the responsibility off of himself.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look for that quote.
I thought that was interesting to show too. There's just so much inner turmoil going on like behind the scenes, where then I think I need to see it, another time to really get into like each individual, product launch and everything. But just like the crowd scenes where everyone's chanting and like stomping their feet like it's a sports game, and then cutting to them, him listening to Catherine Waterstone tell him how shitty he is and everything. It's just a really interesting way to show this these scenes, really.
Like there's a moment with Jeff Daniels where they are right behind the stage, and he's like, this is 55 Margot, and then he's like, it's 9 a.m, and as they're talking, there's this cool like cutaway where the camera goes like directly over like the big screen that is on the stage, and you just kind of see the audience waiting there, and it's like, it's really cool. And it's like, for a movie that is mostly dialogue and just following people, like I think the most cinematic moments are these cutaways to the audience and capturing how electric and it is.
Yeah, I think on a technical level it's really like top notch and stuff, and the editing and the shots and all that, and the acting's really good and stuff. I guess for me, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, it's pretty good. I gave it like 4 stars on Letterboxd.
One thing I do want to say too is I mean, we've talked a little bit about how this is like the trilogy of the Sorkin Bay Area movies, but the score reminded me a lot of The Social Network.
I think so too. I think so too.
It's not Trent Reznor again, but it's definitely very reminiscent of it.
There's kind of like shimmers as he's like walking around. It's like
Yeah, I think The Social Network is like cast a shadow on any sort of tech Bay movie. It's going to come after it. I think like
Right.
something like that.
And I
Uh,
also liked this is random. I was just looking back on my notes, but like how with Jobs they go through like every detail of like I don't know of the process of them putting together the company and all these like coming up with the name Apple and all this stuff.
Right. Right.
Whereas like in Steve Jobs,
That's
I
not
thought
the
they're
that's the Beatles or whatever, you know.
yeah, yeah. It's like, why do you hate the Beatles, man? They're just
They're
not
not
Dylan.
Dylan.
Yeah.
wait, is that
Stupid
is
ass.
wait, where is that from?
That's in
That's Jobs.
Jobs.
That's Josh
Okay.
Gad and Ashton
That sounds
Kutcher
like
and
something
Jobs.
that would be in Jobs. Because if I
Yeah.
was in
Yeah.
Steve Jobs, I would have been like, dude, like, come on, Aaron.
Yeah.
Like that's you're gonna have that in there.
Yeah, that I thought that was a pretty lame scene. But like
Oh
in
yeah,
Steve
well,
Jobs, it there's like these really cool montages that they go through to like cover like okay, this happened and this
Yeah, to
happened.
cover
But it's like
a bunch of time.
yeah,
Yeah.
'cause it's like you can read the Wikipedia while watching this and then get that like this
yeah.
happens. Like you don't need to see a whole scene about why this is
Right.
this
Especially
and
since it is
whatever, you
such
know.
an iconic like thing where like everyone knows a lot of this stuff, you know. It allows
Yeah.
like it's not a huge leap to expect the audience to need to be spoon-fed this story, you know. You can expect them
Yeah.
to be down for it in a creative way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
right.
that's cool. Yeah, that's another thing about Steve Jobs, not like spoon-fed to you. I think they have an idea that people know who Steve Jobs is and like what he did. And I guess Jobs is more of the kind of the bullet point movie, the bullet point
Yeah,
presentation, like
Yeah.
totally.
PowerPoint of that shit. Yeah.
Like I really at the end of the day, I don't think I care how they came up with the name Apple.
No.
Like
Yeah.
it's just not as
Right.
interesting.
Like
Yeah.
they felt like you had to see that scene pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
So cringe, dude. Like, yeah. I guess well, since we have 5 minutes left, I guess we can wrap up Steve Jobs and then
I do like so one big difference is like in Jobs, I mean, like ends up going back to Apple and it's like very like wow, they like go to his house and he's like, wow, you guys must really be desperate, you know. But in Steve Jobs, it's like basically that was his plan um all along, and like that he's like he recites the exact thing for Kate Winslet where she's like, what are we doing, you know what I mean? And he's like, they're gonna have to buy my operating system and 50 million shares of stock and CEO of Apple. And that's how kind of Act 2 ends, you know, where like it's predicting his return to Apple, which I always like, and I think it's interesting. And also Seth Rogen has a good moment where he's like, I'm letting you know this computer is gonna fail, and he goes through all the
oh yeah,
reasons,
yeah,
and he
yeah.
gets like really technical when he's telling him why the computer is
Yeah.
gonna fail. He's like,
Yeah.
which everyone's gonna find out isn't optional, and that this actually doesn't do anything. And like, I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
like I get all computer nerdy when I like watch
No,
this
those
movie, you
parts,
know.
the parts where they're talking about the business and they're talking about like Apple and the products and
Right?
stuff,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is really that I fuck with those parts the most. Those are
Yeah.
actually like really cool.
Yeah. It's well
Mm.
done. Well, it's all such here's a great way to summarize it. This movie's such a clusterfuck of dialogue and lines
Mm.
and moments that it in order to cover it the way we usually cover movies linearly, which is what we try to do, it's not as easy.
Yeah. Well, we can do
Mhm.
that with Jobs because that one's really linear and really like
Yeah.
simplified and
Yeah, exactly.
really, really cringy. Like, yeah, I couldn't believe when I saw Steve Jobs, I saw Jobs in the theater when in 2013. And then I was like, oh, that was pretty good, pretty interesting. And then I saw it with you, Luke. I
Right.
couldn't believe how bad, I could not believe how cringe it was. Like, and how awful and just the messaging in it is just totally doesn't make any sense whether or not, like, is this guy, I don't know. We'll get into it after our commercial break, but
I'll read how much time do I got?
you got
2 minutes. All right,
2 minutes. 2 minute
I'll
warning.
read quotes. I'll read quotes just to wrap it up. One here. Here's a simple one. I'm poorly made from the creator, right? Um, I just John Scully. Just relax. Steve Jobs. Why? John Scully. I don't know. No one's ever asked me that question. Steve Jobs. If a fire causes a stampede to the unmarked exits, it'll have been well worth it for those who survive. That's like when he's like, it's not dark enough. We need to have the exit signs off. Like, and then in the third like product launch, she finally gets the exit signs off, and it's like what he's been wanting, I guess, for 30 years or something like that.
Yeah.
Um,
And that's when we get the music video of him walking on a stage.
well, yeah, that's the final product launch.
Yeah. It's literally a music video. And then he's like, I did name it after you, sweetheart. And the daughter is in Kill Bill too.
Is she?
Yeah, she plays her child. She plays that actor is the child in Kill Bill 2.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
The driving force of both films in this case.
Kind of, yeah.
I do think it's a little on the nose when Jeff Daniels is like, why do people who are adopted feel abandoned? And he's like so like psychoanalyzing him like right to his face. Like that always I'm like, all right, let's settle down here.
Yeah, that one hurt, right?
So anyways, now we're moving on to Jobs, which is very different. I don't know, like there's like this one clip on YouTube that Felix showed me a
I
year
put it in the
ago.
group chat. I don't know if you saw it, John.
Yeah, John,
Yeah,
don't
I
know if you
did watch it. Yeah.
which is almost what
Very good.
inspired this episode.
Yeah.
And specifically that rant in it with Ashton Kutcher. I don't know if like either of you remember, like maybe you remember, Felix, like what he says and like how what he's yelling specifically, but I just remember him like going off heavily.
No, it's him in like this white room with the board, and he's like, if you don't share our enthusiasm for this
Right.
company, then get out.
He
And
didn't
then
have the
across-
vision.
Right,
yeah,
right.
And then across cuts that with like the super intense dialogue with Michael Fassbender, Steve Jobs, and
right.
Jeff Daniels and shit, and it's just like a totally different level of like of a
Yeah.
film. And then
Yeah.
it's literally Ashton Kutcher firing a guy, and then Michael Fassbender. I don't know, yeah, it's so goofy, dude.
Yeah.
The movie is so goofy in the worst ways.
Yeah, I find it to be very laughable and almost like I just can't believe it. I ended up going all the way through. It almost feels like as if Ashton Kutcher is doing SNL Steve Jobs or something like that for a
Yeah.
whole movie.
Yeah, exactly.
That level. Yeah, like I think it's like scene one, he goes to like a college classroom or something like that, and he's older Steve Jobs now.
No,
and
it's
he's like,
it's literally the iPod. It's the first
Yeah,
scene.
he's literally
is
like
him
the
with the
iPod.
the gray hair.
Yeah, he's like
Yeah.
1,000 songs, 1,000 songs in your pocket.
That no, and but the thing is, like, that they're trying to be serious with that. Like, that
Right.
they're trying to be, even though it is like this SNL level sketch comedy thing, even
Right.
though this movie tries to be so fucking serious with like its message and the story, like this inspirational story, and it just like does not work at all.
So corny. Yeah.
It just doesn't work, and it's just bad. It's just a bad movie.
Yeah.
In
Well,
every
so then-
way, like, yeah.
After that opening scene, it kind of peels back. It's like, all right, now we're, it's like one of those where we're starting from the beginning. Now we're going to go back to, I mean, we're starting at the end or whatever. After he's done all his accomplishments, now we're starting at the beginning. And it's basically then just cuts to Steve Jobs in college. This sequence I find specifically hilarious because it's straight up to me just looks like Ashton Kutcher walking around this college barefoot. I see no disappearing into Steve Jobs like whatsoever. And I'm
No.
just kind of like, Steve Jobs was not this tall and good looking walking around in college, like at all. And
No.
like, it's not even like Ashton Kutcher lost like a shit ton of weight for this role. It looks like, you know what I mean? He still
No.
looks kind of like pretty broad, like more broad bodied and stuff, when like Steve Jobs was always like ridiculously skinny.
Yeah. No, he's
But
playing like some sort of characterization of like Steve Jobs, the way he's like walking like hunched over and shit. And
yeah, I mean, it borderline just feels like it's him, you know what I mean? Like it's almost like it's just like laughable how little he's putting into disappearing into Steve Jobs. I just kind of watch him like, this is fucking Ashton Kutcher, you know, talking to Josh Gad right now, like pretending that they're, you know, Wozniak and Jobs. But this
yeah.
opening college shit is so like stereotypical. He's like, he's just walking around barefoot. He's like, I don't really care. Like, I'm a hippie. I don't care about my studies, blah, blah, blah. And like, and then he's like, whoa, what's this? Calligraphy? And he like
Oh
hooks
my
up, and
God.
he like hooks up with this girl, and and then there's this long, very long montage, which I'm sure you, of course, guys remember because it's long, and where
There's a lot of montages in
there's a
this.
lot of
Yes.
montage, but this is the acid montage at the
Oh
beginning
God.
where Steve Jobs is where he's like just tripping out, and the camera constantly is circling him as he's in this tall grass in like a like kind of a like a northern California valley, and he's just
Yeah.
like doing this, and it's just so obvious, like everything is connected and this is influencing me as like a person, and you know, and then in the rest of the montage they show him doing more things like studying like more about calligraphy and art school and all that shit, and then going to India, meditating, like that whole stuff, the era of like Steve Jobs, I guess, you know, just the college years.
Yeah, like you were saying, Luke, how you were I don't know, interested in like the 60s like
The
counterculture
counterculture
type
stuff of
guys.
this. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And this one they try so hard to be like that cool
Right.
hippie
Like
counterculture guy.
it's so like we
He
gotta
was in the
have that here.
Beatles.
We gotta
Yeah.
see him trip on acid, and you know what I mean. And
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's the whole there's a montage, and then he's in bed with that girl, and he's like, "Oh, you mind if I take some of these?" And he's like, "Sure." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna give them to my girlfriend."
yeah, yeah, it's so shitty. It's so shitty. I noticed that this time. I didn't notice that the first time, but like, I was like, why is that even in there? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just I guess he's Ashton Kutcher in this, so he's supposed to be a womanizer. But uh,
yeah.
then eventually we get to him like,
He meets Lucas Haas's character, and then
yeah,
they're tripping in the meadow, and then
yeah,
he's like, "How could someone give up a child or whatever?" Like he has some sort of
right, right.
adoption exposition going on
Mm-hmm.
there. So I guess we're supposed to feel bad for him, but one of my main problems with the film is that we have this guy who's the biggest douchebag ever, and
yeah,
he's like the biggest douchebag, but then we're supposed to be inspired by him, and there's literally no arc to the character at all. Like he's just a huge asshole to everyone, and then by the end, he's just like,
by the
"What
end
inspires
it
you?" It's
works out. Yeah,
literally in the end, it's him recording a voiceover that's supposed
right,
to be like really inspirational of him, like when he's coming back to Apple. But there's literally like the messaging is totally off because I don't know whether or
right.
not
No, that's
I'm
a
like,
good point.
is
Yeah.
this a good person, or is this a or a
Yeah,
bad person? Because there's literally no redemption in his character. And then but by the end the message is, this is Steve Jobs and look how he changed the world, and he's a good guy
yeah,
even though the entire
right.
time he's just the biggest jerk to everyone.
Yeah, I think the movie in that is almost saying like, in this movie at least, that was all like worth it. That was for the better. When I think what Steve Jobs does so well is the final act, he is in control of Apple, but every interaction he has is like a shit show, and he's clearly screwed up things with his daughter, and you know, blah blah blah, and like they do make it feel like, okay, in the end, like this is like his breaking point, even though he's business wise he's doing very well, like personal life it's not doing well, which they don't do in in Jobs. Yeah, it's very much like all, wow, look at this like revered inspirational figure, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. But the whole movie goes against that. And like just a couple things that we should talk about is that one, he like fucks over he fucks over like multiple people in the movie. So in the beginning when he's working
yeah,
at he's working at Atari, right? And he's like,
yeah.
oh,
He's like,
you gotta
you don't
make a
know
game.
anything about design.
Yeah,
He's just
yeah,
like,
yeah. And he goes, so he's like, oh, I'm gonna make a game in like 7 days or whatever the fuck he says. And he's like,
yeah,
goes to his friend Steve Wozniak and he's like, can you do this? Can you make the game do this or whatever? And then he makes the new
hmm
whatever the shooter game or the Pong shit that they were doing. And then he brings it back
hmm
to the boss and they're like, wow, this is really amazing. I'm gonna give you $3,000. And then he goes to Steve Wozniak, who literally did all the work, and gives him like $300, even though he got paid $4,000. So he literally
right,
fucks
right,
over his like best friend. And
yeah,
then there's a whole shit about him and his and how his girlfriend got pregnant. The Catherine Waterston character in this gets
right,
pregnant, and he's just
yeah,
like a fucking jerk to her. And then the guy, one of the main guys in Apple, the Lucas Haas character, he like fucks over him too. He's like, oh no, like he's not a part of Apple because like he quit or he wasn't inspired enough. And I don't know if you're
right, right.
there's that scene in front of the house where he's like, dude, just chill out, dude. Like
Yeah, it's like,
it's not a big
Yeah.
it's
deal.
like, this is the company. This is a business. Like,
Yeah. And he's like, you don't share the enthusiasm for this
yeah,
company. Like, don't tell me to like chill or whatever.
right,
And the
right.
thing about Ashton Kutcher playing this role is that Ashton Kutcher as an actor, a performer, has always played like a chill ass dude. I for the
hmm
most part, like he's like a chill, like playboy, like
Yeah,
handsome guy, that
yeah,
70s show
right.
dude. But he's like playing against type, and it doesn't work. Like it doesn't
No,
work at all.
Yeah.
no,
I thought his version of Steve Jobs did seem like he was crazy, but not in the way that
Yeah.
Steve Jobs was actually
right,
crazy,
No,
right.
like he's
no.
like really insane.
And I never felt like when he's not yelling or anything, like, oh, he seems actually smart. Like
Yeah. Yeah,
he
exactly.
seems like a normal dude, like for
Yeah.
most of it. And then because the plot needs for him to become Steve Jobs, it just happens. They don't do anything to characterize, like the writing doesn't do it, or the performance doesn't do anything to be like, this is someone who's about to become this like very like crazy visionary man. Like I felt the whole way through, I'm like, this is just this normal dude who all these things just are happening to him, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because yeah, it feels like I guess the plot feels disconnected from the characters in
Oh
this,
yeah.
which is not good.
No, it's a misfire. And I don't know if it was like budgetary reasons or they're just like trying to scrap together some shit, because it does feel like a TV movie, even though it was like I'm pretty sure it was wide release. Like I
Yeah,
said, I
it
saw it.
does not look good ever.
No,
Like
no.
the college days look exactly the same as when they are running Apple. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah.
doesn't feel more extravagant. It doesn't feel nicer. The lighting is looks like shit
Oh, it's
again.
so
You
flat and
know,
it's
yeah, it's
just
so flat. There's like no detail to like what should be in an incredible like Apple campus or something with like where they're innovating and doing great tech. And especially since Steve Jobs was a guy who was about like visual like beauty and like about the look of things, and this movie just doesn't look like, it looks like shit like the
yeah,
whole way
yeah.
through.
Yeah, and there's the part where he's like I didn't get fired from Apple. It was stolen from me or whatever he says. And then he's listening to the MP3 player, the CD player, whatever, right before the meeting, and he throws it out and he's like, this is junk. So there's all these like contrived little
Yeah,
moments in it where and then we gotta talk about the Josh Gad like Wozniak. The
yeah. I
where they're
mean,
in the
again, I like we were saying, I think he went for the look because
yeah,
at the end, the
Hmm.
pictures do show they they formed Josh Gad's hair to look exactly like Wozniak's at the time. So
yeah,
they went 100% like look and costume. I really feel just like with Ashton Kutcher.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, definitely Ashton Kutcher. I mean, you think about like what if Ashton Kutcher was cast in the Danny Boyle, Aaron Sorkin role? Like how would that have gone? You know what I mean? Like, do you think he would have he
Yeah.
could have pulled it off?
No,
Yeah, I
no.
don't think so.
No.
I don't
Yeah.
think so. I don't think he would have been
And-
cast.
Yeah, yeah. And there's the scene in the garage with Josh Gad and Ashton Kutcher, where he's like, "No one wants to buy a computer," and he's like,
Yeah,
"People don't."
yeah. He's like, this computer's gonna be like, you realize what this is? It's like nobody buys computers, man. And like, yeah, I like that whole sequence of like where they are starting the company. Even well, all right, I guess I don't like it, but like where like he's like, hey, we have all these employees now, and then they sell all the circuit boards to those guys, to that guy, and he's like, guys, this is not like, these are not computers, these are circuit boards. And
Yeah.
there's even a montage of just them building the circuit boards,
Yeah.
and like with all the detail, the circuit boards.
Yeah. And they go to the shop and try to sell them, which is, if you go on Netflix and you watch like the preview, it's the scene where they go into the shop,
Right,
which is
yeah,
probably the best scene in the movie, because it's like not a bad scene, like, oh, this is like interesting business. Like, this guy's like,
it kind of is,
he's like
yeah.
hedging
Yeah.
his bets that he's going to be able to sell all these computers or whatever. But another scene that comes to mind is the boardroom scene where he gets voted out, and then he's driving in his Porsche,
Yeah, he does
and he's like,
ah.
yeah,
Some from the very beginning I forgot to mention, which I think is actually like a very perfect way that encapsulates this entire movie, is it's the first needle drop, and it's the flashback back to the college days, and it's the song is Peace Train by Yusuf and Cat Stevens, which is a very famous, well-known song in a lot of movies. But just the fact that that is the first needle drop, and he's like, oh, we're back at college, and it's like it's like, the counterculture time, is like such a typical way of setting up that, and just showing how the lack of originality and chances taken that are going to be in the rest of this movie.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought
Oh
up
my
the
God,
needle
yeah.
drops, because there's so many
Just
in
basic
this.
ass ones,
Just basic, yeah. Like when they're starting to put together like all these like parts and like chips. It's this montage, and then it's that Joe
Yeah.
Walsh song. And yeah, it's just all these like supposedly cool like 60s 70s rock
Right.
needle drops
Yeah.
to sort of put you into this space. But yeah, it just seems so like generic when they do it. But yeah.
And there's like a little revenge plot in there, because there's this part where he's driving with Steve Wozniak. And they're like, what are we gonna name it? And he's like, the whatever he says, the Star Trek name, and he's like, "No Star
Enterprise,
Trek
yeah.
name." Yeah, and he's like, how about Apple? And he's like, yeah, it comes before Atari. Because he's like working at Atari before.
Oh yeah.
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 But
yeah, that's the scene then where he's like, what about Apple Records, the Beatles?
right.
You hate the
that's
Beatles.
right. Yeah.
They're not Dylan.
No. No.
But I do enjoy every freak out when the company becomes big, like he's like he just like kicking out programmers like left and right, and he's like, Steve, that was our best programmer, like after he just like will bash someone out.
Yeah.
And I think one of the programmers is the IT guy from The Office. Like that's like one of the biggest like
Yeah.
programmers in the team. Like he's on the
Oh,
iMac,
yeah.
he's on the
Yeah.
iMac team, he's on the Macintosh team. And that's kind of what I'm saying. Like almost every actor in this is like either a famous actor or someone who's done comedy, like from the comedy world. It's really strange.
Yeah. The guy from
I'm-
Scott Pilgrim. He's the guy from, he's also in Scott Pilgrim. He's like,
Oh, okay.
yeah. There's a part in Scott Pilgrim when he goes, so he goes to fight Ben Schwartzman, and then he's in it, and he's like, yeah, the second and third album are the best albums. And then when he goes back in time to fight him again, it's like him again, and he's like, "Oh yeah, no, like they really fell off of the third and fourth film or something like that." Like he says some shit like that. But
And
he's
then
without the glasses.
oh, okay, yeah.
He's on Scott Pilgrim for like a bit. Yeah.
In the beginning too, at Atari, Roy from The Office is
Yeah,
the
Roy is the boss.
Oh
and
yeah.
he's literally like, Steve, you're very smart, but you just are such an asshole.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which is the big theme is that he's an asshole, and then we get like a bunch of montages, and then in the end, he's back at Apple, and there's like a microphone set, and he's like, "What inspires me? It's the ones who
Yeah,
push the needle that are the
yeah, he
most
does
like,
that speech where it's like
yeah,
the
oh
ones who, and
yeah,
he's like crying as he's saying it, which is
yeah,
really dumb, where he's like, the ones that are crazy enough to
Here's
invent
to
the
the crazy
future too.
ones.
oh
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, yeah, cringe, bro,
yeah.
cringe, so cringe. Just I don't know anything that's really redeemable about the picture. Um, I really
And
don't.
also J.K. Simmons is
Oh,
always
dude,
on the board, and he's just
yeah,
clearly reading. That is like moments where his lines where we're talking about like this is the Wikipedia page movie. J.K.
yeah,
Simmons is literally reading like events that are happening.
yeah,
Steve, we have to put we have to put more money in the Apple too. It's 70% of our revenue. Like just keep hearing all these facts from the
Yeah.
days of Apple being read to you by these actors,
yeah. He would have never done that role post Whiplash, but since this was 2013, and he was kind of like, you knew his face, but you didn't know what his name was until like after Whiplash, But this is
Yeah, he was still more of a revered supporting
yeah, he's
actor,
like a bit
you know.
player. He's like a day player before. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know what if I have much left about this movie either. Other than that, I just think like it's just it's a rare thing when movies are made side by side of this vast difference of quality, and I think it's a glaring thing to point and worth pointing out.
Yeah. I think next time we do a podcast, we should watch uh Steve McQueen's Shame, and then we should watch Ashton Kutcher's Spread.
Oh, those are the same?
Those are like Michael, they're both playing like Playboy, like sex addicts or something like that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it's like one really revered director with Michael Fassbender, and then there's like the Ashton Kutcher one. I don't know. I think that would be you
Huh.
guys should check that out. That could be an interesting little comparison piece too.
Yeah, that's like the same scenario almost.
Yeah, it literally is. Because
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's literally the same one. So I don't know. That would be we should check that
Yeah.
out. At least watch them. Yeah.
I will say like Steve Jobs is a fun like drink watch with like friends, I remember like laughing a lot
Yeah.
watching it. So if you're trying to hate watch something, I think it fits the bill there.
I was really physically cringing the whole time.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
also be ready to like for your brain to hurt, I mean, I'm a guy who likes, cringe, but we all have a limit on how much we can take, of course.
Yeah. I think it's just bad. Like, I don't even know if it's worth like even. I guess if you're
I would
curious.
rather read the Wikipedia page than watch Jobs, I think,
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
right. But
Yeah.
yeah, that is it, I guess. Steve Jobs versus Jobs.
I think we have an obvious winner in this versus.
Yeah, we didn't even make a claim. We just kind of like said this.
Yeah, I think you get it. Yeah.
This is the way I think everyone understands. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
But
when they were
yeah.
gonna make, I remember hearing about the Jobs movie before and seeing pictures of Ashton Kutcher as Steve Jobs, and I was like, wow, this is gonna
And
be
everyone's
really
like,
cool.
"Whoa, yeah, yeah." You're
This is gonna be
expecting like
like,
him to like go hard for it and stuff.
yeah, yeah, it was really cool. But then I guess Ashton Kutcher was like got the script from his agent or whatever, and he thought, oh, this is gonna be a really big breakthrough for you because you're known for that 70s show and
Right.
Where's My
It's gonna
Car?
it's gonna change, his perception as an actor and
Yeah.
whatnot.
It's going to be a paradigm shift and he was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And he like read the script. He's like, yeah, I'm going to do it anyway, anyway, I guess. And then, I don't know. Yeah. And even Steve Wozniak was like, no, this is not what happened at all. Like, this is not like,
Yeah, I saw that like Woz actually was working with like the Danny Boyle production
Yeah.
and like
Yeah,
giving insight,
yeah.
but not so much for the Jobs.
no, you got to have a
Yeah.
consultant on some shit like that. You can't just like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Wikipedia adaptation.
Yeah, it's a little like Tommy Wiseau was hanging around the Disaster Artist and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
But yeah, that's Steve Jobs versus Jobs. I'm sure that's not a thing. It's not a topic that comes up in everyday life. So it was good on us for shedding light on this.
Yeah. Well, I actually saw a thumbnail. I saw a thumbnail of a video essay like just a couple months ago before even after the whole idea.
Everyone's talking about it. Someone already did a video essay on it.
No, it's like a video essay that the title is like, thumbnail is two movies that tackle the same subject matter or something like that. It's like Jobs.
Interesting. Yeah.
So,
yeah, these are two that do it in two totally different ways.
Yeah. But now
and essentially off the same source material too. But yeah.
Yeah, but now this pod is going to come out talking about it too. So.
Yeah. But yeah, it's cool. Thanks for coming on, man. It was fun.
Yeah, it was really fun.
You kind of came up with the topic too, so.
Yeah, dude, I want to come on again.
Yeah,
sure,
you absolutely can. Absolutely can.
Yeah, I'm down for the shame spread one, just as maybe a part 2 or this extension of the Michael.
All right, we'll definitely talk about the shame spread one.
Yeah, I like that idea.
In terms of going forward, I think our next episode is probably going to be the Bummy Awards. So yeah, keep a lookout for our poll coming out, where we're gonna allow you to. We're currently just starting to curate our award categories and our nominees, so we're gonna post on our Instagram account basically polls for everyone to vote on the categories so that the people have a voice in this year's Bummies Awards. So
yeah,
that episode will probably come out around Oscar week or something like that.
Cinebums is my favorite. Cinebums is my favorite podcast. So
you heard it here, guys.
High praise.
It was a really huge honor to be on here.
Oh, thank you, man. It was an honor to have you.
Yeah,
everyone
really
go follow Dummy Hard Productions on Instagram.
Oh yeah, dude, Dummy Hard Productions.
Felix makes very, very stylized rap music videos.
Yeah,
for
man.
a lot of LA artists.
Yeah, I'm about to go listen to the new Yeet album. It just dropped like 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever talked about Yeet on the podcast, but
I don't think John knows
never.
I'm definitely into. Yeah, I didn't know there was a Yeet album dropping. Of course,
it's supposed to be
2 a year.
Really good. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, Cinebums. It was really cool, and this was really fun. Like my first podcast ever too. So, but
nice. Yeah, is there any way you want to sign yourself off since you signed off the breaks?
Yeah, Cinebums, Felix Kristensson, John Newing, and Lucas Sky on him beat. We out here.
Nice. All right. That's cool.